I'm Moira, and this is my Good Feet story.
See for yourself with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
So the holiday season is here. Hopefully you have big plans for Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the fun of the season. Nancy Cogar, elder law attorney here in town, joins us because her goal this morning is to help us all keep the peace, avoid difficult conversations, especially, I guess, Nancy, if you're going to be with your parents
Sure.
who are getting older. Maybe you as the adult child see something that they might not be noticing. Is it a problem?
Absolutely. And the last thing I want is for you to be rushing to an attorney after the holidays, right?
Right.
So it's something, decline in parents is a difficult thing without saying, but, a lot of times when you go home for the holidays, it's something that's right in front of your face and you see it. But there are things you should do and you shouldn't do.
Okay.
Timing is important. Of course, holidays can be stressful just on their own. There's lots of expectations, there's lots of traditions, there's lots of different family members who may have different opinions. So you don't want to bring up difficult topics during that time.
Not on the holiday itself.
Correct. So if there is a discussion, you need to plan for it before or after.
Okay.
And have your parents be aware of it so that you're not, surprising them with anything.
Do you find that it happens, is there a trend where the more difficult conversation is one child to the parent as opposed to siblings over how to handle things?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I had a conversation with two siblings the other day. One's in Seattle, one's here in Chattanooga, and they're concerned about mom and dad. The one in Seattle is coming home for the holidays. But they have a relationship where they're really working together as a team. And I think that's the key, because they've already approached mom and dad and said, we want to keep you in your house, we want to keep you safe, we want to make sure we can help however we can. They were receptive to that, which ordinarily some parents, older parents, wouldn't be. So they're working as a team, whereas a lot of families, there's a brother who thinks this, a sister who thinks otherwise, and the parents are caught in the middle.
Right.
So that's the last thing you want to do.
Which is so unfair to put the parents in the middle.
Yeah.
So if you do have a sibling dynamic, maybe the siblings should kind of have a consensus going into the holiday?
Right, maybe talk to them beforehand. Talk to them about some of your concerns. Ask them about their concerns. Ask them how much they are able to participate. Maybe they won't at all. And, that happens.
It can also be difficult too. You mentioned the Seattle versus here. The sibling who is away might notice changes more so than the sibling who's here.
Yeah, exactly. And it may feel more pressing to the person that's here. These are not things that happen overnight. Long-term care planning needs to be a conversation that starts earlier and is more direct and compassionate and patient, because there's going to be different stages that the family members are at, and the willingness to, they may be afraid they see a decline in themselves, but you need to help them to see, sitting down with someone like me, help them see that this is not taking anything away, it's adding, it's protecting, it's putting things in place so if and when they do need it, it's there.
The long-term care planning probably for a lot of people changes because life will change. So you might, like this example, maybe they'll be in their home for a while, but then they may end up moving into an independent living community or an assisted living community. If they were to, if a family, if a husband and wife moves towns to be near one of their children, do they ever need to change, like who's the executor of the will or power of attorney? Those things shift?
You need to look at those things because there's a practical standpoint and then sometimes there's a legal standpoint. So you're asking someone to serve as your fiduciary who has a duty to you under the law. And at times that may be more complicated for someone who's out of state.
Right.
So, the things you don't know, I think that's what I'm saying again. The things you don't know really could hurt you or create more crisis in your family than it really need to.
Okay, so, let me ask you this one. Because I'm kind of in this walk. I have a mother who's in her 90s, and so when you're having these meetings with you, a client comes to you, maybe it's a husband and wife and they're 88 years old, and they're trying to figure out who to have do things within their estate. Is it important that the children be part of the conversation so that they can know what their responsibilities would be
At
if they're
some point.
taking on?
At some point, because there are other things that get involved. Maybe you have animals. Maybe you want someone to take care of the animals if you can't later on. Maybe they have no idea what your assets are, your finances, where your banking is, how much money you have. These are things they do need to know because you're going to be asking them to help with those things at some point.
Is there any kind of a checklist that people can have, like 5 things that if you are concerned, you should make sure you note before you leave?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you said that. So those are the types of things we talk about, as you know, all the time on the podcast, Boomer Time. Weekly podcast, you can find it on my website, nancycogar.com, or YouTube, or any of those places. And I am always offering kind of simple, practical resources. I want these things to become more understandable for people because people aren't planning. And that's a problem. That is the biggest problem. And I do not want to see people get in a situation where all they have is, decisions under a crisis.
Right. So maybe the thing to do if you're traveling for the holidays is find out if your parents even have a plan. If you're watching and you are the person who should be thinking about these things, make sure you have that plan.
Yeah.
And then Nancy will always be happy to help you. She will talk to you until the cows come home. And check out her podcast. It does drop weekly. It's called Boomer Time with Nancy Cogar. There's her website and phone number. Thanks.
Thank you.
Put it all on the line with the new visual twist on trivia.
Yes!
The Perfect Line.
Weekdays at 3 on